Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. And we're back here for another episode of the podcast here on Monday. And today we're going to look back at the first full week of fall camp. We're going to be focusing on the Big Red preview on Saturday, looking back at the things that we've learned, some of the biggest questions that remain, looking ahead to fall camp, and also some of the big surprises after the first week. So we're going to break it all down. Before we get into it, please make sure that you guys do us the favor and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button, get into the comment section, let us know your thoughts on the first week of fall camp and whatever else you're thinking about this Nebraska football team. Before we get into it, Danny, how are you doing on this Monday morning?
I'm fully drinking the Kool-Aid this Monday morning, and I know I shouldn't, but like I've said before, I have a bit of a drinking problem. It's the Kool-Aid, the damn Kool-Aid once again. And after the scrimmage or practice, whatever you want to call it, I know there was some debate among the fans. It's hard not to be drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I think probably practice would be the best way to categorize it. It was the first padded practice that the Huskers have had. So you're allowed 9 by the NCAA before the first game. So that was one of their 9. And they really made it out to be, some work. Matt Rule said, like, hey, this is work time. This isn't. He was much less, trying to entertain the crowd and seemed much more focused on the task at hand for this team. And it seems that it's a very focused group. We didn't get a lot of videos. No video was allowed outside of some of the individual drills, which is understandable. But there were still I thought some things to take away, and a lot of people were posting comments about things that happened. A lot to kind of take in. And look, I think one of the things that stood out to me that I liked about it was all the things about Archie Wilson, all the booming punts, booming the punts inside the 10-yard line, having great distance, all that. And then the kickers, 8 for 8, I believe is what they were. Maybe I'm making that up, but I know that they didn't miss any kicks. So I thought that was kind of impressive. What were some of the things that stood out to you just about the Big Red preview?
Well, you kind of hit it off the top here. I was very happy that the kickers were perfect, and not just from hey, we're a better special teams unit, but I'm happy for a guy like Tristan Alvano, who has struggled with injuries and kind of gotten off to a rough start in that way. And the fact that he was perfect on the day, and he came into the program with such fanfare, being a local kid, a very, very talented kicker. So the fact that he got off to a good start on Saturday is certainly. I'm really happy for him. I mean, you remember we interviewed him. He's a great kid, so I'm happy that he was able to kind of help contribute on a unit where he was kind of overtaken last season by John Hull so that really stood out to me. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that kicker battle kind of plays out with 3 guys kind of in the mix there. The transfer Kyle Kunin, or I think that's how you pronounce the name, John Hall, and then Alvano. And Archie Wilson, it really does seem like there's a chance he's going to be a weapon for this team. Not that Brian Buschini wasn't when he was healthy. I mean, he really did a good job of flipping the field a lot. Probably could have maybe been a little bit better about pinning teams inside the 20, but it is what it is. He also had to deal with a lot of injuries and didn't have the best protection at times. So Archie Wilson, I mean, Mike Eckler really identified this guy, was the guy that he wanted, and Matt Rule kind of talked about he was just really impressed with that whole process. So I think that that's one of my takeaways so far. I guess one of the things that I've learned through this first week of fall camp is that Nebraska's special teams, they really have been upgraded in a major way. And I think we're going to see that impact on the field this year. We talked about losing a lot of close games, and that was even something, the Big Ten Network guys, brought up. I think Jake Butt, something that he brought up, like, this team is improved and it's really good, but it's also probably not good enough to sit here and blow out a bunch of teams in the Big Ten, so that means there's going to be close games like there has been, the last 5 years. And that's been the bugaboo for this team. And one of the, hiccups has been special teams. So if you can fix that area, I think that's going to really help improve this team. Now, obviously you have to do at some point, this program is going to have to, with 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, with behind, whether you're down by 3 or whatever, they're going to have to go down and score a touchdown and win a game. I mean, they haven't done that in, I honestly can't remember the last time. I know there's a big, like, people have been tracking it. But that's Dylan Raiola is going to have to do that. And until he does that, I think there's going to be a segment of Nebraska fans that kind of hold back their belief in him. But it wouldn't surprise me if he had one of those moments this year. But going back to special teams and winning close games, I think that's really going to help having that third of the game solidified for once.
And I'll tell you, man, there's something to these Australian punters. I mean, I remember watching Lou Headley at Miami, for example, also from Australia, a very talented punter. So I think the strategy change in how they punted the football and how they're going to punt the football is going to pay off big for Nebraska.
And then another thing that kind of caught my attention or caught the wide receivers. Dane Key wasn't out there. He was on the bike in a yellow jersey. So I mean, according to I think it was Gary Sharp, I think is what I saw, the 1620. There's nothing like long term or serious about Dane Key's injury. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I don't like seeing him on the bike though. I mean, whether he's having some type of muscle issue. I mean, who knows? I would rather just see him on the field, but I don't think it's anything too to be overly concerned about. It did allow some others to step up though. I mean, Cortez Mills has been generating some buzz. Obviously, Ja'Cory Barney was probably one of the stars of the show. There was a really great picture of him that the Nebraska football account put out, and just like that was like the vibe of the night was Ja'Cory Barney. And Keelan Smith, excuse me, and Quinn Clark also getting a lot of positive mention coming out of Saturday.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cortez Mills saw some playing time this year. I mean, you look at how dynamic he is and how much of a deep threat he is in addition to being a playmaker. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he had a very sizable role in the offense this year.
I think I'd be surprised if he didn't have a big role in the offense this year. I just think he's a deep threat, maybe the best one of the best deep threats in that entire 2025 class. I mean, Matt Rule, like before he committed, was comparing him to Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith, the guy who won the Heisman for Alabama. So, that's the kind of kid, that's the kind of talent you're getting in Cortez Mills. And then Keelan Smith, 6'3", 205 pounds, had some great plays in especially in some one-on-ones. I know Quinn Clark came down in one-on-ones against Donovan Jones, which is not easy because he really had a solid night too, the cornerback.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I think and then Quinn Clark 6'5", 210. So you've got two other big receivers. Jeremiah Jones as well as also he had the toe tap catch that Nebraska released on social media of like, was this a catch or not? And whether it was a catch or not, it was still an impressive play. And
Jones is what, 6'4"?
I believe so. Let me double check.
Yeah.
But I believe 6'4", I think like 6'4", 225 pounds, like something crazy. Because he's a guy that also 6'4", 225 that could have played linebacker. I mean, he's like a linebacker edge type. Like if you look, he's out there playing wide receiver on one end, on the other side he's playing linebacker. I mean, so
he played safety too a little bit in high school.
Yeah, he's just a freakish athlete. So he I had like let's see, 117 tackles. So last year he had 117 tackles, 11 sacks, 18 tackles for loss on defense, and just 1,000 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns. So just your average everyday player. Double-digit sacks, 1,000-yard season, 100 tackles, 18 tackles for loss. No big deal. So linebacker, safety, pass rusher, wide receiver, tight end. He can do it. I mean, he really is one of those. They call him a program guy. Just a guy you want your program that can play just about anywhere. That's Jeremiah Jones, and no reason to sleep on him at all. I don't know if he's going to make a huge impact this season, but I think he is going to make a big impact for this program at some point.
In the meantime, I can really put my socks on, and he's playing both ways, just being an absolute beast. So there you go. Yeah. But no, Jeremiah Jones. I mean, you remember. Towards the end of early signing day where Nebraska kind of made a last-minute push. I mean, Missouri was pushing for him hard, and Nebraska came in, whether it was actually the last second or whether it was something in the works that just needed to be finalized. Nebraska was able to get the deal done, and they really wanted Jones. And this was one of the first instances where I'm like, yay, 1890, because before I had my doubts about him, but 1890 Collective came through, helped us get Jones, and now we're seeing why he was so highly coveted.
I want to say there might have even been some expert predictions for him to flip to Missouri. Like it,
Yeah,
it
there
seemed
were.
like it was
Yep,
a done deal.
yep,
And then I remember he posted like, "Nope, I'm 100% to Nebraska." So I think Matt Rule called him. I think is what, if I remember right, Matt Rule reached
yep.
out to him,
Hmm.
and I'm sure the
I remember.
1890 had a role to play with that too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so that was a big one. And then looking at the running back position, I thought Mekhi Nelson really established himself as the number two. I think he's been doing that with Quentin Ives, kind of getting hurt. There was some positive buzz like Connor Booth. I saw some positive notes about him, and he's still a guy I think to keep an eye on this season. Jamarian Parker seems like he's still dealing with some injuries. Obviously, Quentin Ives is Isaiah Mosey. So the running back room, I mean, a little thin right now, but it seems like Nelson's really kind of stepping into that role.
Well, as a junior in high school, he ran for 1,670 yards and 22 touchdowns. He averaged 7.6 yards a carry and had 8 100-yard rushing games. So he is a talented running back. And I remember when Nebraska added him, I thought, okay, now we have even more depth. That's great. When will he, step up and make an impact? And I think he's going to make a huge impact this season. And I think people overall, not you, but just fans in general, have kind of been sleeping on him a little bit. But now I think they're gonna learn his name this season.
Yeah, he's kind of an interesting kid because he, committed to Nebraska and reclassified. And I read something the other day that Michigan was really like trying to push for him to do the same thing. And before they could get him on campus, he committed and signed to Nebraska. So, so it's not like Nebraska was the only program trying to get him. And instead of, spending the 2024 season in high school, he spent it redshirting for Nebraska, which, can only make you a better player, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And, yeah, so I mean, his running ability has always, I mean, it's been talked about since dating back to last year. Just his natural running ability. And if he's got all the other aspects, the pass blocking and bulked up a little bit, I think he's ready to make a big contribution this year. And then with Ives and Mosey and Booth, maybe Jamarian Parker, once he gets healthy, you've got, I think, some quality options, just a lot of unproven depth behind Emmett Johnson. But I mean, he looks ready to go too. So I think that Emmett Johnson, like I said, is going to have a big season. So maybe the running back depth isn't such a big issue because he's going to be the bell cow. Who I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't know how well he's going to hold up, but I do think over the past few years, like there's been times where we've seen him kind of be the bell cow for like 4 or 5 games. Just let's see how he does with that over the whole season.
remember that end of the year stretch in 2023 where Marcus Satterfield figured
Mhm.
out that hey, we can run the football, and we got Emmett Johnson the ball, and he ran a lot. Like that's what I'm predicting for not the whole season because I do think this offense is set up a bit different, but he can be that bell cow. I am a little bit worried about Ives due to the increased running back depth and the fact that he's out with an injury. I still think he can be a productive running back, but um, I am kind of interested to see where he falls on the depth chart. I'm not giving up on him by any means, but it's just something I'm watching.
And then the thing that caught my eye also the defensive line. I think there's a lot of not just depth, but size is something that I was kind of
Yeah.
worried about going
Yep.
into the season. And you look at the three guys that they've kind of got playing, defensive end. You've got Williams Nwaneri, Cameron Leonard, and Keanu Davis. All the three of those guys are at least 6'3", 270 pounds, and Nwaneri I think is what 6'6" or 6'5", and so is Keanu Davis. So I mean, they're all really big guys, and that's what you want, in your five techniques, your defensive end types. But they also have all three of those guys have pass rush ability too. So I mean, they're beastly. And a name, he's not going to probably contribute this season, but it jumped off the page at me when I was just scrolling through the roster and I saw Tyson Terry listed at 6'2", 310 pounds. That got me excited because you look at this 2025 class of defensive line commitments, and you've got three pretty good ones, I think, in Cade Patrizak, who looked good on
Yeah.
Saturday,
Yep.
6'5", 265. Malcolm Simpson actually was out there practicing, so that injury seems like that subsided, which is good news. And he's 6'3", 285. And then you've also got, Tyson Terry, 6'2", 310. And Williams Nwaneri is essentially, I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, and he's 6'7".
Yep. I was just about to say
So
he's yeah. Yeah.
and it's like really, and Gabe Moore's only a sophomore. They've got him at 6'5", 290. Dylan Parrott, they've got at 6'5", 320.
I'm very interested about him, mostly because he's one of my defensive linemen in college football 26. But also, I think he's kind of being slept on too, because I feel like he can really contribute. Maybe not as much this year, but next year.
Yeah, and I think I'll admit I don't think I have given him nearly enough credit. Looking back at his sophomore season, played in 13 games, only had 2 tackles. But I remember him now, when I rewatched the Pinstripe Bowl the other day, I saw him and I was like, oh, I was kind of, I saw him out there. Not that I didn't before, but when you're rewatching, you kind of can focus in on certain players. And I was watching him and he actually impressed me. And so I was like, you know what, I've been underrating the impact I think he can make this season. And then Van Poppel, they've got a 6'5", 295, which I'm just like, why are you lying about his weight? There's no way Riley Van Poppel is 295
right?
when you've got Tyson Terry at 310. There's just no way. There is no way. He's 315 pounds. So fix that on the roster, please. Whoever does that. I'm just joking. But so I don't know. I was worried about the beef on the D line, but they've got quite a bit there. And Elijah Judy, I don't think I mentioned him, but he's also over 300 pounds. And so I don't know. I feel pretty good about that group. And Vincent Shavers always makes me feel good. And the secondary, especially Donovan Jones, is a guy I'm really feeling good about. Andrew Marshall and all those guys, but you need 3 good cornerbacks. And I'm like, man, we can. There's not a ton of teams that are going to try out receivers, 3 receivers that are going to make me worry a ton when we've got Sayer Wright, Andrew Marshall, and Donovan Jones. Like maybe Ohio State, but outside of that, there's not a lot of teams. I don't think Nebraska is like going to struggle to match up against, in terms of their defensive backs and those one-on-ones.
I said it in the last video, and I'll say it again. Andrew Marshall's a dude. People, I don't think, again, I don't think some fans, I'm not going to say all fans, but some fans aren't giving him enough credit. Andrew Marshall is going to be an impact playmaker. And we talked about all conference teams and who can make all conference. I think Andrew Marshall could be added to that list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's definitely a name to watch. And then wanted to bring up this offensive line here and to kind of have a separate little part about them, because I do think that we maybe are seeing some separation. I know there's obviously like a battle with Gunnar Gatula and Tyler Knacker in the mix, but according to what everybody, the reports based on Saturday, this was the first team offensive line in numerous drills. So that doesn't mean that they're going to start. That could just be one day, but it's starting to feel like this might be the week 1 offensive line for Nebraska. What do you think? Is that premature? I mean, obviously, I still think Atula has a chance to bump over to the right side. And Matt Rule said it was a battle, and he also kind of took a shot at Kalen DeBoer's spread offense, and that he made it seem like the thing that Pritchett's kind of having to do is learn this new pro style system, which has maybe hindered his not development, but just that's taken him a little bit of time to get comfortable on that.
I love taking shots at the SEC, by the way, so good on Matt Rule. I'm very happy with this offensive line. Again, my thing, and I'll say this, I'll just keep saying it. If Teddy stays healthy, then that's going to be awesome. If he can, get through the whole season and be healthy, then I think, he's in line for a big year. I know I've given him a lot of crap on the show about not being healthy and inconsistency, but if he can stay healthy, then I think he'll have a great year. And if he can't, I feel comfortable with the depth Nebraska has. So either way, I'm pretty happy with this offensive line.
It's still crazy, Teddy. 6'10", 320 pounds. So I mean, we'll see what happens. He hasn't played since 2013, where he started 6 games that year. He started 3 at left tackle in
2013 or 2023?
2023, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was confused. I'm like, he's been out that long, really?
Yeah,
really?
So, 2023 is the last time he played. He had the season, and he was looking good in fall camp last year and had the season-ending injury. And then we were kind of wondering, like, is he ever going to come back? So, I mean, I think the fact that he's still here, he's still battling and trying to find a spot. He was a top 100 recruit for a reason. And when he's been out there, like I remember him, before he got hurt in that Michigan game. And I know that seems like a century ago because that was 2021, but he was good. Like he was really good. And that Michigan defensive line was, I mean, they had multiple NFL players on that D line, and he really held his own. Of course, then he tore his ACL. So I don't know if he'll ever be that guy, but if he's anything close to that, it wouldn't surprise me at all. If he's that guy, he's the best offensive lineman on this team, and that includes Elijah Pritchett. I mean, like that. If Teddy Prochazka can like truly be healthy for a season and actually be himself, like he truly is probably the most talented offensive lineman on this team.
I remember him keeping Aiden Hutchinson at bay in that game. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's one of the best pass rushers in the world. I mean, like he's like as good a player in the NFL as there is on defense, and Prohashka was right there with him. So yeah, he just hopefully he will stay healthy, but that's why like it's not a huge shock to see him, kind
Yeah.
of in that right tackle spot because he's got the ability. He's got everything that you could possibly want in a tackle. He just has to stay healthy.
And I love Justin Evans at center. About 3 or 4 years ago now, there were inconsistencies at the center position with Cam Jurgens. He just couldn't snap for whatever reason, and now we've gone from Ben Scott to Justin Evans, and I love the fact that Nebraska is going to get consistent, solid play at center, and so I'm really happy about Justin Evans at that spot there.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the show with we said we were gonna have some questions, our biggest questions remaining and surprises. So we've kind of gone through the Big Red preview. So what are some of your biggest questions that remain after this first week?
The health of Dane Key. I'm not worried about it yet, but I am definitely watching it. And also, I'll stick with the wide receivers here. What's going to happen with Isaiah Hunter? Because I do agree with you that he's going to get his catches and he's going to have a big role in the offense. But you see a guy like Cortez Mills really emerge, and you see him kind of really play well and play at a high level. That makes you kind of wonder how this receiver room is going to kind of shake out.
Yeah, those are good questions. And yeah, Quinn Clark, Keelan Smith, Cortez Mills, kind of all pushing Isaiah Hunter. Yeah, we'll
Jeremiah
see.
Jones.
Yeah, Jeremiah Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my biggest question is when we just looked who are the starting tackles going to be? Is it going to be Pritchett and Prohashka? Is it going to be Tyler Knack? Is there going to be an in-season kind of competition? Like, are we going to see all four of those guys play against like Cincinnati and Akron and those teams until we finally kind of have somebody that emerges? And then yeah, how is Mekhi, Mekhi Nelson going to hold up as the RB2? And can he? I think he's a great runner, but can he do the pass protection? Can he do all the things that you need to stay on the field besides just being a running back? So that's, with younger backs, that's sometimes the question. I've heard good things about it, but that's probably one of my questions. And then, I'm just trying to think on defense. I don't really have any, honestly, I just don't really have a ton of questions on defense. I mean, the defensive line probably is the only question mark, maybe the pass rush, but I feel really confident. So I don't even know if I wouldn't say that's a question mark. I think it's just a matter of time before those guys get out on the field and make things happen.
I guess like a couple of my other questions are, can Carter Nelson make it through a full season, and what's the tight end room going to look like in terms of production? I'm really curious to see, because I really liked how Carter Nelson looked over the course of training camp. He looks healthy. He looks bigger, a lot stronger, and we saw Luke Lindenmeyer's acrobatic catch the other day too, so we know he can ball. We knew that last year, but I'm very curious to see how the tight end room produces, and if Nelson can hold up and be the bell cow there. And then I guess my last question is the kicking position. And I think it's not a question of, can we kick and are we going to have good kickers? It's a question of how it's going to shake out. Because like we mentioned, all of them did really well on Saturday. And I'm curious to see who kind of emerges from that room. And I think it's a good problem to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it is a good problem to have. I don't know. I feel like my prediction early is the transfer, the Cal kid's going to take that job. But we'll see. I think that is an interesting question moving forward. In terms of surprises, I guess my biggest fall camp surprise maybe is Carter Nelson, because I did not really, going into fall camp. I mean, I hoped that Carter Nelson was going to like make an impact, but I didn't really have it on my my list of things that he was going to be like a big time contributor this year. And that's totally been just flipped on its head with his, how he's looked so far. And so, yeah, that's probably one of my biggest surprises, just the tight end room as a whole, kind of how strong it's looked so far. And then the defensive line depth, I think, has been a positive surprise too. So in terms of, I don't think a lot of negative surprises, just a couple of those things there. And just also the quality of the special teams. I mean, how quickly it seems like Mike Eckler has flipped this thing around. I know we have to actually see it on the field, but like it feels like this is going to be a top 20 special teams unit, which is quite remarkable looking at the recent history of this program.
And that's what he's known for, right? Eckler, he's known for turning around special teams units and producing good special teams units. I guess one of my biggest camp surprises is Nelson at running back. I knew he was a good running back because, like we talked about, he was highly regarded in high school, kind of flew under the radar for Nebraska when he came to the program last year. But him as the second running back is a little bit of a surprise in a good way. That means the coaches value him highly and he can produce. So that's a really good surprise for me because if he can even be, a 1-2 punch to Emmett Johnson, if they can form a 1-2 punch, then that really improves the depth of the running back room.
Yeah, and you're gonna need another back to emerge at some point. So you can't run Emmett Johnson into the ground. As good as I think he's going to be this year, you don't want him to be totally like wasted and burnt out by the end of the season. So gonna need some other guys to emerge. But yeah, I think there's a lot of positive buzz, and yeah, we're 24 days away now from the Arrowhead Stadium and the Kansas City Classic. So let's go, baby! I
I
can't
got
wait.
one more surprise before we go. Well, it's one more surprise, but it's two people. Jeremiah Jones and Cortez Mills. I knew they were good. I knew they were athletes. I didn't think they'd be getting this much buzz this early to the point where we could see them on the field right away.
Yeah, and there's actually quite a few freshmen I think that are getting some buzz. So
Yeah,
there'll be some freshmen that definitely have their red shirts burned this year. So maybe that'll
and they
be
should. They
a
should.
topic for another day. Yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, in this transfer portal era, the days of sitting the freshmen on the bench waiting for them to develop, I'd take the red shirts off and see what they can do because you don't know
yeah.
how long you have them.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't. So, all right, you guys. Well, that's we'll wrap it up there. Those are some things we learned, some of the biggest questions remaining in our fall camp surprises. So, we'll be back again with another video soon. So, please make sure that you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section, and let us know your thoughts on the first week of fall camp, or the Big Red preview, or just Nebraska football in general. So, please do us that huge favor. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.